I'm Emily, a colleague of Ryan's. I think there's something you should know." Samantha's heart raced, but was she ready to hear what might come next? A single message left open on Ryan's phone shattered Samantha's world. "Can't wait to see you. Tomorrow." Was her worst fear about to be confirmed? As Samantha crept into Ryan's dimly lit office, she froze. There he was, wrapped in the arms of another woman, oblivious to her silent heartbreak, just feet away. Emily leaned in and whispered, "Alexandra's real name isn't Alexandra. She's been using aliases to scam men like Ryan." Samantha stood outside, Alexandra's mansion folder in hand. "This is the end of your game," she said, as the police officer stepped forward. "Welcome to the Alibis Exposed, where trust meets betrayal in the dark." Samantha and Ryan had been together for 5 years. Their relationship was picture perfect, or so it seemed. Ryan, a successful businessman, was charming and confident. Samantha, a freelance writer, was loving and supportive. They lived in a beautiful house in the suburbs, surrounded by a lovely garden and a white picket fence. But beneath the surface, cracks were beginning to appear. Ryan had been working late nights, often coming home after Samantha had gone to bed. He would tell her that he was stressed with work, but Samantha couldn't shake off the feeling that something was off. One evening, as Samantha was cooking dinner, she received a call from an unknown number. She hesitated for a moment before answering. "Hello?" she said. There was a pause on the other end of the line. Then a woman's voice spoke up. "Hi, is this Samantha?" Samantha's heart skipped a beat. "Yes, who is this?" "My name is Emily. I'm a colleague of Ryan's. We work together at the office." Samantha's mind was racing. What did this woman want? "Okay, what can I do for you, Emily?" Samantha asked, trying to sound calm. "I just wanted to talk to you about Ryan. I've noticed that he's been acting strangely lately. He's been distant and preoccupied, and I'm worried that something might be wrong." Samantha's instincts were screaming at her to be cautious. Why was this woman calling her, and what did she really want? "Thanks for your concern, Emily," Samantha said, trying to brush her off. "But I think Ryan's just stressed with work. He'll be fine." Emily hesitated for a moment before responding. "Okay, if you're sure. But if you ever need to talk, I'm here for you." The line went dead, and Samantha was left staring at her phone, her mind reeling with questions and doubts. Who was Emily, really? And what did she want from Samantha? Samantha tried to push the thoughts aside, telling herself that she was just being paranoid. But the seed of doubt had been planted, and it would only continue to grow. As the days went by, Samantha noticed that Ryan was becoming increasingly distant. He would come home late, barely acknowledging her presence. They would go to bed in silence, the tension between them palpable. Samantha's instincts were screaming at her to confront Ryan, but she was afraid of what she might find out. She was trapped in a web of uncertainty, unsure of what was real and what was just her imagination. And then one night, everything changed. Samantha couldn't shake off the feeling that something was wrong. She had been noticing strange text messages on Ryan's phone, messages that he would quickly delete whenever she came near. At first, she had tried to brush it off as mere paranoia, but as the days went by, her suspicions only grew stronger. One night, as Ryan was getting ready for bed, Samantha snuck into the bathroom to grab her toothbrush. That's when she saw it, a text message on Ryan's phone, left open on the counter. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow," the message read. Samantha's heart sank. Who was this person, and why was Ryan communicating with them in secret? She felt a wave of nausea wash over her as she realized the truth. Ryan was cheating on her. Samantha's mind was racing as she tried to process what she had just seen. She felt like she was living in a nightmare and she couldn't wake up. She decided to confront Ryan, but as she turned to face him, she saw that he was already asleep, oblivious to the storm brewing inside her. Samantha knew she had to be careful. She couldn't just accuse Ryan of cheating without being sure. She needed proof, and she needed it fast. The next day, Samantha decided to do some digging. She started by checking Ryan's phone records, looking for any suspicious numbers, and then she decided to follow him. Samantha trailed behind Ryan as he drove to work, her heart pounding in her chest. She was scared of what she might find out, but she was determined to uncover the truth. As Ryan arrived at the office, Samantha parked her car and watched as he got out and walked inside. She waited for a few minutes and then she decided to make her move. Samantha got out of her car and walked into the office building, her eyes scanning the lobby for any sign of Ryan. And then she saw her, a beautiful woman with long, curly hair and piercing green eyes. The woman was standing by the elevator, chatting with Ryan as if they were old friends. Samantha's heart sank as she realized the truth. This was the woman Ryan was cheating with. Samantha's eyes widened as she watched Ryan and the woman disappear into his office. She felt a pang of curiosity mixed with dread, wondering what she would find if she followed them. Her mind was racing with thoughts of what could be happening. Behind closed doors, was Ryan really cheating on her? And with whom? Without thinking, Samantha crept towards Ryan's office, her heart pounding in her chest. She slowly turned the handle and pushed the door open, her eyes scanning the room for any sign of what was happening. The office was dimly lit, with only a few rays of sunlight peeking through the blinds. The air was thick with tension, and Samantha could feel the weight of her suspicions bearing down on her. As she stepped further into the office, Samantha's eyes adjusted to the light, and she saw Ryan and the woman standing by the desk. They were locked in a passionate embrace, their bodies entwined as they kissed. The woman's hands were wrapped around Ryan's waist, pulling him closer as they moved in sync. Ryan's hands were buried in the woman's hair, his fingers tangled in her locks as he deepened the kiss. Samantha felt like she had been punched in the gut. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. The man she loved, the man she thought was committed to her, was cheating on her in his office. The scene before her was like a nightmare come to life. Samantha's mind was reeling, trying to process what she was seeing. She felt like she was going to throw up, her stomach churning with a mix of anger, sadness, and betrayal. As she stood there, frozen in shock, Samantha couldn't help but notice the woman. She was beautiful, with long curly hair and piercing green eyes. Her skin was smooth and flawless, and her lips were full and inviting. Samantha felt a pang of jealousy, wondering how Ryan could throw away their relationship for this stranger. The woman's eyes flickered open and she caught Samantha's gaze. For a moment, they just stared at each other, the tension between them palpable. Then the woman's eyes dropped and she buried her face in Ryan's chest. Ryan, oblivious to Samantha's presence, continued to kiss the woman, his hands roaming over her body. Samantha felt like she was going to explode. She couldn't take this anymore. She turned to leave, but her feet felt heavy, as if they were rooted to the spot. She couldn't move, couldn't breathe. All she could do was stand there, frozen in shock, as her world came crashing down around her. The sound of Ryan's voice broke the spell, and Samantha turned to face him. He was standing by the desk, his eyes locked on hers, a look of guilt and shame etched on his face. "Samantha, he started, but Samantha cut him off. "Don't," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Just don't." Ryan took a step forward, his hands outstretched, but Samantha backed away, her eyes never leaving his face. "No," she said, her voice firm. "You've made your choice, now you have to live with it." With that, Samantha turned and walked out of the office, leaving Ryan and the woman behind. She didn't know where she was going or what she was going to do, but she knew she had to get out of there. Samantha walked out of the office building, her eyes blinded by tears. She couldn't believe what she had just seen. The man she loved, the man she thought was committed to her, was cheating on her. The pain and betrayal she felt were overwhelming. She walked for blocks not knowing where she was going or what she was doing. She just knew she had to get away from Ryan and the woman. She finally stopped in front of a small cafe where she collapsed onto a chair, exhausted and emotionally drained. The waitress came over to take her order, but Samantha just shook her head. "Just coffee, please," she managed to whisper. The waitress nodded sympathetically and walked away. As Samantha waited for her coffee, she couldn't help but think about her relationship with Ryan. They had been together for 5 years, and she thought they were happy. But now she realized that she had been blind to the signs. The late nights at the office, the mysterious phone calls, the distant behavior. It all made sense now. The waitress returned with her coffee, and Samantha took a sip, feeling the warm liquid spread through her body. She closed her eyes, trying to process her emotions. How could Ryan do this to her? Didn't he love her anymore? Didn't he care about her feelings? As she sat there, lost in thought, a woman sat down next to her. It was Emily, the woman who had called her a few days ago. "I'm so sorry, Samantha," Emily said, her voice soft and sympathetic. "I knew something was going on, but I didn't know what. I'm glad you finally know the truth." Samantha turned to Emily, her eyes filled with tears. "Why did you call me?" she asked, her voice shaking. "I wanted to warn you," Emily replied. "I've seen the way Ryan looks at other women. I knew he was trouble, but I didn't know he was cheating on you with her." Samantha nodded, feeling a sense of gratitude towards Emily. "Thank you for telling me," she said. "I appreciate your honesty." Emily nodded and put a hand on Samantha's arm. "You deserve better than Ryan," she said. "You deserve someone who loves and respects you." Samantha smiled weakly, feeling a sense of hope for the first time in hours. Maybe Emily was right. Maybe she did deserve better. Samantha sat in the cafe with Emily for a while longer, discussing Ryan's infidelity and her own feelings of betrayal. Emily was a good listener, and Samantha appreciated her support. After a while, Samantha realized that she needed to confront Ryan. She couldn't just sit around and do nothing. She needed to know why he had cheated on her and what he planned to do about it. Samantha thanked Emily for her support and left the cafe. She drove back to her house, her mind racing with thoughts of the confrontation to come. When she arrived at the house, Ryan was sitting on the couch looking sheepish. Samantha could tell that he knew he had been caught. "Ryan, we need to talk," Samantha said, her voice firm. Ryan nodded, looking up at her with a mixture of guilt and defiance. "I know," he said. "I'm sorry, Samantha." "I never meant to hurt you," Samantha laughed, a bitter taste in her mouth. "You never meant to hurt me," she repeated. "That's rich, coming from you. You've been cheating on me for who knows how long, and you never meant to hurt me." Ryan looked down, shamefaced. "I know it was wrong," he said. "But I don't know, Samantha. I felt trapped in our relationship. I felt like I was missing out on something." Samantha's eyes narrowed. You felt trapped? She repeated. You felt like you were missing out on something? That's not fair, Ryan. You made a commitment to me. You promised to love and cherish me. And this is how you repay me? Ryan looked up, his eyes flashing with anger. You're not perfect either, Samantha, he said. You've been distant and cold lately. You've been so focused on your own problems that you haven't even noticed mine. Samantha's eyes widened in shock. How dare you, she said, her voice low and menacing. How dare you turn this around on me? You're the one who cheated, Ryan. You're the one who broke our trust. Ryan looked away, his shoulders slumping in defeat. I know, he said. I'm sorry, Samantha. I really am. The other woman, Samantha's anger and hurt, was still simmering as she glared at Ryan. She couldn't believe he had cheated on her, and with someone from his office, no less. Who is she? Samantha demanded, her voice cold and detached. Who is the woman you've been cheating with? Ryan hesitated, looking uncomfortable. Her name is Alexandra, he said finally. She's a new employee at the office. We just clicked, I guess. Samantha's eyes narrowed. Clicked? She repeated. You mean you couldn't keep your hands off each other? Ryan looked down, shamefaced. Samantha, please. But Samantha was relentless. I want to know more about her, she said. What's she like? Is she pretty? Does she have a family? Ryan sighed, rubbing his temples. Alexandra is... She's beautiful, Samantha. She's smart and funny and charming, but she's also manipulative. She knows exactly how to get what she wants. From people? Samantha's eyes widened in surprise. Manipulative, she repeated. You mean she's a gold digger? Ryan nodded, looking guilty. I'm afraid so, he said. She's been playing me from the start, Samantha. She knew exactly what she was doing, and she didn't care who she hurt. Samantha felt a wave of anger wash over her. How could Ryan be so stupid? How could he fall for someone like Alexandra? But as she looked at Ryan, she saw the pain and regret in his eyes. He knew he had made a mistake, and he was truly sorry. Samantha's anger began to fade, replaced by a sense of sadness and loss. She realized that she had lost the man she loved, and she didn't know if she could ever get him back. Samantha's mind was reeling as she tried to process the information Ryan had just given her. Alexandra, the woman he had been cheating with, was a manipulative gold digger who had been playing him from the start. As she thought about it, Samantha realized that she had seen Alexandra before. She was the woman who had been flirting with Ryan at the office party a few weeks ago. Samantha's eyes narrowed as she remembered the way Alexandra had been touching Ryan's arm and laughing at his jokes. She had seemed so innocent and charming at the time, but now Samantha saw her for what she really was, a predator. Ryan was still sitting on the couch, looking guilty and ashamed. Samantha turned to him, her voice cold and detached. How long has this been going on? She demanded. Ryan hesitated before answering. A few months, he said. It started when Alexandra first joined the company. We just clicked, I guess. Samantha's eyes flashed with anger. Clicked? She repeated. You mean you couldn't keep your hands off each other? Ryan looked down, shamefaced. Samantha, please. But Samantha was relentless. I want to know more about Alexandra, she said. What's her background? Where did she come from? Ryan sighed, rubbing his temples. Alexandra comes from a wealthy family, he said. Her parents are divorced, and she's been spoiled rotten her whole life. She's used to getting what she wants when she wants it. Samantha's eyes widened in surprise. A wealthy family? She repeated. That explains a lot. Ryan looked up, curious. "What do you mean?" Samantha smiled, a plan forming in her mind. "I think it's time I met Alexandra," she said. "Don't you?" Samantha's mind was racing as she thought about confronting Alexandra. She knew it wouldn't be easy, but she was determined to expose Alexandra's true nature and make her pay for what she had done. Ryan looked up at Samantha, a mixture of concern and curiosity on his face. "Samantha, I don't think that's a good idea," he said. "Alexandra can be volatile. I don't want you to get hurt." Samantha smiled, a cold, calculated smile. "Don't worry about me, Ryan," she said. "I can take care of myself. Besides, I have a plan." Ryan's eyes narrowed. "What kind of plan?" Samantha leaned forward, her voice dropping to a whisper. "I'm going to gather evidence of Alexandra's infidelity and manipulation," she said. "And then I'm going to expose her for the gold digger she is." Ryan's eyes widened in surprise. "Samantha, that's brilliant," he said. Samantha smiled, feeling a sense of satisfaction. "I'm glad you approve," she said. "Now let's get to work. We have a lot to do before we can take down Alexandra." Ryan nodded, determination etched on his face. "I'm with you, Samantha," he said. "Let's do this." Together, Samantha and Ryan began to gather evidence of Alexandra's infidelity and manipulation. They scoured the internet for information, talked to Ryan's co-workers, and even hired a private investigator to dig up dirt on Alexandra. As they worked, Samantha's anger and hurt began to fade, replaced by a sense of determination and purpose. She was going to take down Alexandra, no matter what it took. As the days went by, Samantha and Ryan gathered more and more evidence of Alexandra's infidelity and manipulation. They discovered that Alexandra had a history of targeting wealthy and successful men, using her charm and beauty to get what she wanted. They also found out that Alexandra had been embezzling money from Ryan's company, using her position as a financial analyst to cover her tracks. The evidence was damning, and Samantha knew that she had enough to take down Alexandra once and for all. But as she was about to put her plan into action, Samantha received a surprise visit from an unexpected ally. It was Emily, the woman who had first warned Samantha about Ryan's infidelity. "Samantha, I've been watching you from afar," Emily said, her eyes shining with admiration. "I have to say, I'm impressed. You're a force to be reckoned with." Samantha smiled, feeling a sense of gratitude towards Emily. "Thanks to you, Emily," she said. "You were the one who warned me about Ryan's infidelity. I owe you one." Emily waved her hand dismissively. "You don't owe me anything, Samantha," she said, "but I do have some information that might be useful to you. Information about Alexandra's past." Samantha's ears perked up, her interest piqued. "What kind of information?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Emily leaned forward, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Alexandra's real name is not Alexandra," she said. "It's something else entirely, and she's been using different aliases to scam men out of their money." Samantha's eyes widened in shock, her mind reeling with the implications. She knew that she had to act fast to expose Alexandra's true identity and bring her to justice. Samantha's heart was racing as she gathered all the evidence she had collected against Alexandra. She had enough to expose her true identity and bring her to justice. With Emily's help, Samantha tracked down Alexandra to a luxurious mansion on the outskirts of town. They arrived just as Alexandra was leaving for a night out on the town. Samantha stepped out of the car, her eyes locked on Alexandra. "Alexandra, or should I say, whatever your real name is," she spat, her voice venomous. Alexandra's eyes narrowed, her smile faltering for a moment. "Samantha, darling," she said, recovering quickly. "What are you talking about?" Samantha smiled, a cold, calculated smile. "I'm talking about your little game, Alexandra," she said. "I'm talking about how you've been using different aliases to scam men out of their money, and I'm talking about how you've been embezzling money from Ryan's company." Alexandra's eyes flashed with anger, but she kept her cool. "I don't know what you're talking about, Samantha," she said. "You're just jealous because Ryan chose me over." "You," Samantha laughed, a harsh, mocking sound. "Jealous?" she repeated. "You think I'm jealous of you? You're the one who's been playing a game of deceit and manipulation. You're the one who's been using men for your own gain." With that, Samantha pulled out a folder full of evidence and handed it to the police officer who had been waiting in the wings. Alexandra's eyes widened in shock as the officer handcuffed her and read her rights. Samantha watched as Alexandra was taken away, a sense of satisfaction and closure washing over her. She had finally brought Alexandra to justice, and she had finally found the strength to move on from Ryan. In the end, the story was not one of revenge or bloodshed, nor was it the tale of a man who fell because of his greed and hunger for power. It was a story about the strength of loyalty, the sacrifice of love, and the fight for what truly matters. John Sy had lost so much, his dog, his trust, his sense of security. But through it all, he had held on to one thing that mattered more than anything else: his loyalty to Claire. And in the end, that was what saved him. Antonio Moretti, the mob boss who thought himself untouchable, was brought down not by his enemies, not by the violence he had so freely employed, but by the very thing he had never understood: that love, loyalty, and the will to protect those you care about is a power greater than any weapon, greater than any empire. Power might make a man feared, but loyalty makes him respected. Love makes him invincible. And sometimes the only thing standing between you and your fate is the choice to fight for what's right, for what's real, for the people you love. In the end, Moretti learned that lesson too late.